with us guys, does anyone have a question about wholesaling or anything? Who has the first question? All right, thank you. Mike, start it off.
All right. I was gonna ask. I see you do deal machine, and I was gonna say, how do you actually create that into a whole system to volumize it and maximize it to, have Uber drivers and Lyft drivers go out for you and look out for these properties?
So for everybody who don't know, Deal Machine is an app that my friend David created, and essentially allows you to drive around and take pictures of property. When you take the pictures, you can send a postcard of that picture to the owner. It has all the information.
Okay.
If it takes them 3 months to find a deal, what's 3.6 was 12 times 3, that's 3,600, and my average deal size is 13.3. So it makes total sense for me if it takes them that long, right? So if you know your KPIs, you know where you can really spend your money.
Right.
So going out and finding people that drive in their day job, or because it's hard for somebody to just do it per $2 submission, I think.
Yeah.
So actually kind of employing these people as 1099s so that they go out and drive for you. And that's just one of our lead sources.
Okay.
So find people that want to drive and scale it.
Perfect. Appreciate it.
Okay, Philip.
Yeah, I would say, and this pertains to, all you, Nasar, Max, and this gentleman right here. Yeah, CJ. What are some of your biggest challenges you have to this day with your businesses in wholesale?
All right, CJ. Before you answer that one, can you just, tell me about your background and your
So I started out right out of high school. I graduated high school in 2004, and I knew I wanted to get into real estate. And it made sense, right? Because I felt like I wanted to get rich, buy a bunch of fancy stuff. So I said to do that. I ended up not doing that, like Nas said. I made the decision to do that, and so I got into real estate. I started out by wholesaling. The market bottomed out, literally kind of right when I got started. It's a tough space to be in, trying to figure out how do I make this work. The market's down. So I started flipping short sales. Now, this is a long time ago. This is, fast forward a long journey of trying to do a deal, trying to get things figured out. We enter into like 2010, right? So I started doing short sales, and it goes really well pretty fast. So I started making some pretty decent money. So I started flipping a lot of properties. At the time we flipped 20 to 30 properties a year. We started going into new construction, which I really enjoyed doing new construction a lot. Nas always jokes with me about that we build pretty houses. We were like the HGTV people in Richmond that did the fancy, cool looking houses with the modern look and that kind of deal. So in 2015, I found myself back in wholesaling as a method of, one, increasing cash flow, but two, I just saw an opportunity in the market. There were so many deals to get done, and it wasn't, it doesn't cause me debt. You can make a lot of money. Sometimes you can make more than you flip just by wholesaling. So we transitioned back into that wholesale business model.
So answer the question. What's
your
biggest problem?
What's your biggest challenge right now in your business?
So I think the biggest challenge right now in my business is gauging out my marketing, right? So like right now we spend $10,000 to $20,000 a month, and that kind of fluctuates on like what our intent is. And what I've found is the biggest hurdle I think everybody has when it comes to wholesaling is you literally just got to increase your marketing. So like most people are like, oh, I'm not doing this right. Oh, I'm not doing that right. Like get the specifics tight and have like everything figured out from what list you want to hit, how you want to hit them, when you want to hit them, what your strategy is, and then increase your marketing as rapidly as possible.
How many people here have not done a deal? Never done a deal. It's okay. I was here 3 years ago. My biggest challenge now is I'm scaling. So, and this probably wouldn't pertain to a lot of people because you haven't got your first deal, but with anybody that owns a business, even my man over there owns a restaurant, it's finding employees. That is my biggest challenge every day. We spend thousands of dollars on Indeed, ZipRecruiter a month trying to find qualified people to work on our sales team, dispositions and stuff like that. So I think that's with anybody's business.
Sure.
Some of the biggest challenges I see going around the country and speaking to new wholesalers is their mindset. It's the biggest thing that because everything on how to do wholesaling is online. Everything. This is why when I go somewhere and they pay me $25,000 to speak, I don't talk about wholesaling because it's all online. What I talk about is the correct mindset you need to begin a new journey. And any journey with entrepreneurship. A lot of us have been taught things the wrong way our entire life. right? And so we have to undo that. And that starts with the basic stuff. So start to challenge your everyday thoughts that you have so that you can actually go out and implement the things that Nasar and Chris and everybody else online is telling you to do. The blueprint's there. You just don't have the mindset to read the blueprint. You're not educated beyond the actual material to do it. You don't understand how to read the blueprint because your mind is not ready. So I would say that you need to do things differently than you do in everyday life. If you don't read a book. Nasar reads 10 pages of a book every single day, right? I'm dyslexic, so I listen to books, right? So I don't read that much. But you have to do things that challenge the way you've been raised and brought up so that you can accept the responsibility that you're going to be rich. It's a great responsibility. And if you don't really believe that you're going in the right direction and in the path, if you don't believe that you can reach these successes of the people on the panel, then it doesn't matter what I tell you to do to get there. You're not even going to believe it. You don't have the mindset of a champion. So that's the big thing.
Let me jump in on mindset too. So like, who here has like a regular 9 to 5? All right, so like, let's just say the majority, right? The easy concept with this is have the same intent that you have to make sure you get to work on time with your job. So if you gotta be at work at 8 o'clock in the morning, like you wake up with intent to make sure you're at work by 8 o'clock. Most people don't get to their first deal because they have no intent. So you get off at 5 o'clock, you gotta go drive for dollars, you gotta do whatever you gotta do, but you don't do it with any type of intent. So if something comes up, you know what, I'm not gonna work today. I'm not gonna do this, I'm not gonna do that. You're hurting your business every time that you do that. You have to have the same intent with your own personal business that you have when you go to work.
My biggest challenge is two things. I think touched on it is finding employees, finding the right people who are hungry, that really want to make it happen. And then second, as a wholesaler, you will eventually you may have to end up holding a property. Taxes is one thing. People talk about the properties I own. Taxes are a huge part and can take away from your income. So being mindful of the markets, and my biggest thing now is not being afraid to evolve. I'm lending money, whole different world set and mindset, and I'm doing commercial, different mindsets. So biggest factor in my business now is being able to not be afraid to evolve.
All right, so my business, biggest challenge right now is we're just going through different changes. So for some of you know, I was doing a lot of rehabs and building in the last few years, so scaled all the way back. And me and one of my partners right now, one of my partners, DeAndre in front, and we actually working on a 12-unit deal. Hopefully should be closed this month, but next month. But hopefully, yeah, thank you. But hopefully one of our biggest challenges is just basically we're going to start just looking into other markets. Past years, we've been able to dominate the markets right here in surrounding areas, and we're just going to go, a little bit more farther out.
What's a day-to-day look like, not in your world, in a beginner's world? What should we implement for a day-to-day strategy?
I want to talk because I think go back to mindset. I had to grab the mic on this because I'm gonna tell you I have a 3-step ritual. The first thing I give, I thank God. That's my first thought. It's good morning, Lord. And I don't say Lord, good morning. I say good morning, Lord, because good morning, Lord is thank you, not Lord, good morning. That's a complaint. Second thing is the first 30 seconds you get up, you gotta infuse your mind with positivity. I mean, I have challenges all day. Poor people make problems. Wealthy people solve problems. So you've got to be able to get your mind state early in the morning to be prepared to start solving problems. And the third thing is you got to be thankful for what you currently have. So I know that's a little bit off, but it's a part of the mind state shift, because if you're not thankful where you are, you can't be blessed in where you're going. Amen. So every day I wake up with those 3 things, and I'll text them out to you as well if you want them off the text blast. But that's a major thing, is find some video, find somebody to watch that can pour into you something positive, because in your day when the things hit you, you don't want them to have to hit you and you're not ready for them.
All right, so when I first found out about wholesaling, I was working a second shift job. I had 410s is what they call it. So I worked from 11:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. I had Tuesday and weekends off. So what I started to do was I stopped listening to music. Those people are already paid. They made their dreams work. I had to work on my dreams. So back in like 2010, audiobooks were on CD at that time. So yeah, I started doing that, listening to audiobooks. Sean Terry did have Flip to Freedom, did have a podcast out. There was like 5 real estate podcasts on iTunes at that time, and I had an adapter to my iPod that allowed me to play my iPod to the radio station. And I would listen to Sean Terry's podcast from going to work, and as and coming from work. But as I changed jobs, my commute got longer, and so when my commute got longer, it took me about 35 minutes. So that's like an hour and 10 minutes of just listening and a certain positivity in my mind. So with the first job, I had Tuesdays off. I would go to this meeting where I would hear Jay speak, and a guy named Dan speak every Tuesday. I would go to that meeting weekly, get the information, and do action steps. I would start doing things. Saturday and Sunday was no longer play days for me because I was at a place, I was 26 years old, and I'm like, man, I ain't going to college to work in no call center the rest of my life. This ain't me. I ain't no call center. So, yeah, for those who have never worked in a call center, be thankful. All right? Be very thankful, because in that call center, y'all don't think I'm joking, but people was getting pulled out in stretchers. I seen guys or people come in with doctor notes that they couldn't work there no more. Had a doctor note because the stress levels were so insane. Yeah, like the paramedic people had to come. And I'm like, damn, that's crazy.
I worked in a call center for a long time, and I've seen the same stuff. So
I just said, man, this can't be my life. You know what I mean? Like, you go to your job with a doctor's note, I can't work here no more. Can I go home now? You know what I'm saying? So, first time I've seen that. But anyway, I would schedule lunchtime, I would do mailers. Lunchtime, I pick up the phone, call people back. And never tell your job you're an entrepreneur. That does not work. I learned my lesson the hard way. Don't do that. Okay? Never tell your job. Yeah, quick. So, with that being said, then I got another job, which was a 9 to 5, and lunchtime, same thing. Calling seller backs. Monday and Wednesday, I would sit down as soon as I get from work, go to my bedroom, and just call seller, beat the phone up. So I just had to schedule my day better, but I did cut off cable for 3 years. Stop watching sports, stop watching, just to make this business work. And I used to use my PTO time to go to the RIA meetings, which were every third Thursdays. Like, I was dedicated to the journey. Like, I was comfortable with it because I knew the alternative. If I didn't do this, well, this is gonna be my life. No way in hell. So let me just go ahead and do this. Because it's just one of those situations. Like, I never want to look my kid in the eye and say, the reason why we didn't have shit is because daddy didn't try. All I had to do was try. So, I just kept that mindset and kept it going. Pass this to Max and Tech.
A morning routine is important. What I used to do when I first started is, at night I would scour the internet for data. So what I became, first of all, if you're just starting off, you need to pick something that you're going to be great at. I became very good at tax delinquent and probates. So at night I would scour all of those lists and skip trace at the same time, right? So that in the morning when I wake up, I can make my phone calls from 9 to noon. And then I would go on appointments from noon to like 3. And then I'm back at the courthouse from that 3 to 5 to get more data that's only available on paper, and do the same thing over and over again. What happens is now in this world, everybody's selling you something, a product. And these products work if you use them, but most people don't use them. So what I would do is I would start very basic and just go with pen and paper to the courthouse. You need to find something that you're gonna be good at. Be good at one lead source of something. You could be great at tired landlords. You say, how you do that? Well, you go to eviction court every single day they have it. And you go to eviction court and you read the docket. And every day you're going to see people on that docket, plaintiff and defendant. Plaintiff is the person that owns the property, defendant is the guy that's getting kicked out. And that person, they're at the lowest. When you're evicting people in North Carolina, usually 30 to 60 days with no rent, depending how the process went. You spent money on an attorney to get the person out of there, but you're hitting at the lowest problem. Remember we said, broke people create problems, rich people solve them. So you need to go in there and solve that person's problem of being maybe a tired landlord, right? So just find something that you're gonna be good at and then study the shit out of it. Like, I used to read I'm dyslexic, so reading state statute, which is lawyer talk, I had to figure out how the tax foreclosure process happened. And it couldn't deviate from that because it was the state statute. So if I learned that and then I went into the courthouse, I knew more than they knew, right? So then I knew the earliest point that a foreclosure was gonna enter into the public record. And I would find it 90 days before he would find it. Because I found out what the first piece of paper that they had to file, what the actual real process was. So just getting obsessed with something, right? We've all been obsessed with things, good or bad. Be obsessed with something that's gonna make you a lot of money. But find a daily routine. I think everybody has a different answer of what a daily looks like, but pick yours and find it. If it doesn't work, change it.
So I'm gonna piggyback on that a little bit. All right, so I believe in a daily routine for sure. But what Max is really saying too is like know your time, right? Like you gotta have a schedule. Like I believe in time blocking. So like be intentional. I talk about intent a lot. Like be intentional about how you put your time together. So I'm gonna drive for dollars for from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. I'm going to get on the dollar from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Like know what you wanna do and do it. So this is my advice for daily tasks. Talk to sellers every day, right? So like I talk to people who haven't done a deal yet, and they're like, oh, I've been doing this, oh, I've been researching this, I've been on Bigger Pockets, I watched all Max's YouTube, yada, yada, yada. My first question every single time, have you talked to a seller yet? Yeah. You'd be surprised how many people say no, right? You have to talk to sellers every day. Even if you don't know what you're doing, like fall forward, right? Like figure it out, fail forward, figure it out. Like have that conversation, you may not get that deal, then you just go to the next appointment, but continue to talk to sellers every day. Part of my morning routine, I started doing this a couple years ago. I felt like I was just like waking up every day and just kind of doing whatever, right? So what I started doing is I go on YouTube every single morning, I meditate in the mornings, and I go on YouTube and there's, you type in like motivational videos in the search bar, and like all these videos come up with like this crazy music in the background and get you pumped up for the day. So that's kind of part of my morning routine. I like to do that, gets me motivated and ready to go.
And one more thing, you need to, it's like a lot of us are entrepreneurs, which is you're self-employed. So you're your own boss. So imagine if you were paying yourself $25 an hour. Imagine if your subconscious was watching you at all times, right? So are you wasting your own money, right? You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So when that check finally comes and then you say, well, I worked 50 hours on this, I need my money, then pay yourself. Right? And put the rest back in the company. But you have to govern yourself. And that's the problem where people slack on entrepreneurship is they can't govern themselves. Right. People need strict everyday things. Imagine if you just told your kids, go to school or go educate yourself and I'll see you back home at 3:30. That's kind of what you're doing for yourself. So you got to set the disciplines.
And kind of being on the restart, because I got my first deal off Bandit Sign out of Lancaster. Took the money and thinking, let me brand the company. So instead of putting it back into marketing, I put it into branding because I want the company to have a face. Because I was like, those people scared about being legit.
How much money did you make? How much money did you make?
$3,000.
Okay, so I get this a lot. A lot of people say, yo, I took that money. What should I do with my money? Put it in the bank and go through the same shit you just did to get the first deal. 100%. And do it over and over again until you're sitting on money and you're like, yo, Bandit Sign worked. I would have bought more Bandit Signs.
And see what happened to me and my partner, we started driving for dollars. We had one point in time, 1 week we did 300 properties in, a week? A day. 300 properties in a day, not one deal.
So you changed your formula.
So you went, it's like you go to the bar and you got a great pickup line. It works every time.
And you changed it.
And you went to the bar and you just did something completely out of the blue. And you're like, yo, what happened? I ain't getting it. What's going on? You changed your pickup line. Go back to doing the same thing you were doing. I would triple and double down on those Bandit Signs because it worked.
Now with the Bandit Signs though, around here they starting to kind of
go back to the same place you were doing it.
Now you put this, that's a story you're giving yourself.
No,
I understand what you're saying. Just keep going hard on it, right? Like build that vertical up and make it as good as you can, and then you go into driving for dollars. But that's got to be like an automated process before you move into driving for dollars. I talk to people all the time, and they just skip around from different marketing channels.
Yeah.
So you get a deal here, okay. Now let me go try this, right? Nah, like, get really fucking good at that, right?
No, they were saying the sheriff was calling people up like.
That's
I got a
fine.
problem.
I used to put down so much bandit signs, they stopped picking mines up. They just don't tell them.
That's
Every single week, they're like, you know, this dude is persistent, and it's, you know, I need to be home. I'm just gonna leave his signs up. I swear, they just leave my signs. Because the more they pick up, the more I'm putting down. We can do this all day. So you just double down on it.
All right, next, Glenda.
CJ, you said you're spending $10,000, $20,000 a month on marketing.
Yeah.
What are you spending it on? What kind of
That's a great
marketing are you spending it on?
So right now we do a large volume of texting, all right?
Okay.
And cold calling primarily, all right? So, yeah, I mean, I like texting a lot. A lot of people are starting to get into texting. So one thing I'm gonna say on texting is, everybody says, hey, what's your opening message? I see that like in your group all the time, right? Hey, what's the opening message? Guys, don't make your opening message the same, all right? You wanna ask a couple of things in your opening message. You want to identify the person you're trying to reach, all right? You want to identify yourself. You want to identify the property, and then you want to ask a question. Your question.
What does that sound like? So you been texting.
So, hi, Max. This is Chris. I just drove past the property at 123 Main Street. I was just curious, are you open to an offer?
Boom. Whoa, it sounds just like a phone call.
Just like a phone call, right? And so now I'm putting the ball in Max's court. He's got to respond back to that. He's either going to say no, he's either going to say yes.
Or how the hell you get my number?
Or how the hell did you get my number? Right. And so when they say that, like shift through that, but I like texting a lot to answer your question. I'm still big on cold calling, y'all. I like cold calling a lot. We've made a lot of money from cold calling. I see a lot of people saying that cold calling is getting difficult. There's a lot of people, you're getting less pickups. If there's less pickups, you increase your volume of calls. All right. So if the market has become more competitive, that's okay. That's just naturally going to happen. You have to increase the volume of your calls. So if you're doing 500 calls a day, you got to start kicking that up to 1,000 calls a day. And you just constantly change those metrics inside your business, and I guarantee you're going to do more deals for sure.
And also, I know a lot of people are going into text messaging. It's becoming real popular. And I know why a lot of newbies are doing it too, because you feel like you ain't got to get on the phone and talk, right?
Yeah.
Don't use text messaging yet. Get your battle wounds. Get your thick skin first, because guess where that text message is going to end up?
On the phone.
On the phone. Right, so if you ain't got it down yet, don't do it. You're gonna waste everything by going out there and actually doing it that way. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and don't have that fear of talking to people on the phone. I talk to like new wholesalers all the time, and they're like, oh, I just don't like it on the phone. And don't be, like he's saying, don't become text message dependent, right? Like we got really, really good at cold calling before we ever touched texting. And people were talking about texting, tell us how great it was. We focused on making sure our cold calling systems were tight, and that they could run on their own before we ever jumped into trying to do text messaging. So do not abandon calling. You're gonna end up on the phone anyway, like you said. And the person who wins that call, and I'm talking about we're all calling the same list, right? We're in the same market, we're calling the same people. So it's who can get somebody on the phone and make that conversion inside of that conversation. We have on the whiteboard in the office, it says speed is life, right? So my goal, if I'm in your market, is to beat you to that conversation with the seller. If you're scared to get on the phone, I'm going to get on the phone, my people are going to get on the phone, we're going to make sure we close the deal.
And not only that, I'm sorry, I know the mic got to go that way sometimes. Not only that, I just like wholesale a lot. Not only that, but you have to the follow up. It's important, right? You may text or call that person once and you're done. He ain't answer, done. My team and we'll hit him 6 or 7 times, because you have to look at the window of opportunity. So let's take that same tired landlord we talked about in court, right? 3 months ago, he wasn't interested, right?
And you got rid of it.
But he was getting red at that point.
That's it.
And then you stopped calling him. So 3 months later, I'm hitting him up. And guess what? Now he's at that point. So the window of opportunity is always moving, right? And rocks, stones are our marketing. So you're always throwing, and not every time you're gonna get through that window. But when that window finally lines up, when you throw that stone, that's the point where you're gonna be able to solve a problem that they have, right? So you gotta always be throwing stones. A lot of people just throw a stone and just wait, done. All right, forget it, they didn't respond. So you gotta keep doing it, right? You just can't. A lot of people say, I just got a list, I texted, nobody responded, I need another list. No, you need to try another way of contacting the person, right? So for example, I use a conveyor belt method system in my business. right? So if you if I sent you a piece of mail, would you? How many people would open it up and read it? Raise your hand. Looks like nobody. So mail's not. Well, we got one. So I'm gonna get her house, right? But everybody else, I'm not gonna get anybody else, right? So if you get a call from an unknown number, who picks up? Raise your hand. Right. So I'm gonna get y'all's house. Great. Okay. If I send out a text message, how many people gonna read it? Raise your hand. I guess I'm gonna get the rest of y'all house, right? So the point is everybody likes to be contacted and speak the way they want to be spoken to. You can't force it to make them pick up the phone. You can't force them to read your mail. You can't force them to read your text message. So if you're going to give up at that point, then you just might as well just not even start this business, right? If you can't handle that stuff, just come work for us, right? we need dedicated people. I'm serious, man, because it's hard.
I hire wholesalers to give up, so.
Yeah,
I mean, I really.
All right. Next question. Okay, you want to add?
I want to add one thing there too, along the same lines. He talked about the text messaging. I'm gonna tell you honestly, also a handshake and getting to know people in relationships can get you houses all day. Right. I mean, again, I'm new to this side of the world, and I'm looking at it, I'm amazed. All these systems, I'm gonna learn them. But I'll tell you, the houses we bought, again, a handshake.
Walk the neighborhood.
Walk in and have a handshake and get to know people, because when I look in your eye and we have that conversation and we have that connection, it's gonna work. Because I want to create a win-win.
All right, before we go to the young lady in the back, she has a question, but before we get into your question, let me just tell you guys how much of a small world it is, right? So, I've told Max about Chris, probably a few weeks ago after I met Chris. Yo, this guy, 30 house, I'm amazed, because I've seen other people in other neighborhoods do what Chris did, and if they sell you their lot or sell you a house in the neighborhood, they want to see your plans of what you're going to build there, and then from them approving your plan, not just sitting them, saying, okay, how much you going to charge? All right, cool. That way they can control the value of the neighborhood, making sure it go up because it favors them, because they also have other properties or they even live in the neighborhood. But yeah, but what Chris did, to see a black guy do it and say, hey, I just want to keep the neighborhood affordable. I'll keep it up. I'll keep it nice. It's going to be affordable. Like, I was just blown out, so I had to tell Max about it. So yesterday in the group chat, I sent a picture of. I sent the picture of his house. I sent the picture of his house to Max, and Max said, "Hey, I stayed at the house." I said, "Airbnb?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, it's an Airbnb." And
that paperclip will work one day.
Yeah, I swear. It's an Airbnb. So Max actually stayed at one of his properties before, and this is their first time meeting. So how cool is that, right? Small world.
But time out. Before, I had already watched some of his videos, and Michelle, and already Tony Robbins. When he saw it, when I saw you,
I booked it. Yeah, Airbnb.
So I was actually going to show up at the house and meet you and greet you.
That's great.
But I said, no, I'm going to try to play it a little bit.
Me and Nas went to, we were trap karaoke that weekend.
Trap karaoke?
Yeah. Y'all ain't been, that's a good time.
What's your question?
Hey, Chris.
Hi.
Okay, I got two questions. First one is, because I'm trying to get started,
Check.
what's the best practice to get a tax ID?
Here's the tax ID. Hey guys, you want to talk that, Chris?
Come on. Back the EIN, LLC. Hey, you doing it? That's what my mentees are working on.
Yeah. And the best practice to register business. So I
can help you with that.
All right. She can help you. However, we're going to
Don't say that.
My name is Monica, and I'll be more than willing to help you with that.
all right. People got that? Chris, you can tell her how to get an EIN number.
Well, one thing, Secretary of State, you can do that for the Secretary of State, but she can definitely help you. One thing I'll tell you is, guys, I always tell my son this: never bump your head with all the answers in the room with you. Your network is right here, all around you. So definitely use your network. So definitely connect.
Any other questions? Next question? All right. Okay, you had to go first.
How you go about when you do virtual deals, like you stay in another state and you get a seller or sell at home in another state? How you go about handling that?
I do virtual deals. Okay, go ahead, CJ.
Taking notes on that.
Yeah, so there's a website called wegolook.com, I believe it is. We, like W-E, golook.com.
What was your guys' biggest mistake that you guys made in your business career, and what did you learn from it?
Not getting started sooner. And really just not just moving fast. Yeah, and that's kind of, that plays along with any business, right? You listen to a lot of chatter, right? Stop listening to broke people, first of all. The number one, like I say this, when I said this early on, I said get rid of all your friends. I don't mean like fire them. I mean just stop hanging out with them for a little while. And go hang out with people, or go do anything you need to do. Like if you want to hang out with this gentleman right here, I don't care if you got to wash his car, right? Because the knowledge and the mannerisms you're going to pick up from being around him, if you want to be him, if you look at him and say, yo, I want 30 houses, yeah, I want that. If you want to be him, go hang around him. Do anything that you can do to be around that person. And that is what a lot of mistakes, like we try to, and it's lonely being an entrepreneur, period, right? Luckily you have your wife in the business, right? But it's just lonely being an entrepreneur because we're at the top 1% of all Americans, period. Right? So it's just a lonely journey. So you need to find and be around people that like in this group, in this room here. Have meetups without him.
Yeah.
Like go to the coffee shop. Y'all, 10 of y'all will meet at the coffee shop next Tuesday. You know, it don't cost anything. Bounce ideas and stuff like that. So my biggest mistake was not starting sooner.
All right, let me just say something. Let me just go off with Max said. I'm just going with Max said. So when I first got started and I still had a job, and Jay didn't pretty much take me as a student, so I would have to be up under him as much as possible. And one of the things I had to do, he had me crawl under a house. Under the house. This one I had dreads too. I was not prepared for this at all. We just call them pets. Okay. So, Jay was too cheap to go hire a real plumber. Why hire a plumber when you had me? So the plan was he would feed me the pipes from the top of the house, and I would run it through the bottom. So here it is, I'm crawling under the house, and I got spider webs, everything in my house. And I do not like spiders. I'm one of those people who grew up in the 90s, and the arachnophobia scared the shit out of me. After arachnophobia, I was done with spiders. Done. All right, so I'm under the house, I'm getting dirty. However, during the midst of that, I get to talk to him. I get access to him. And after that, I made him buy me lunch. Like I made him. It was like, hey, you gotta eat lunch, bro. You gotta pay for it. My hair was all dusty. But we got the job done. And that was the house I think he got for nothing down, or barely nothing down. And I just wanted to be up under him and learn that information. So he dropped a good jewel. You can get with Chris. Ask Chris, hey, you need free labor? And just to get up under it and make sure you're adding value to them. Most importantly, and I'm gonna let CJ go on with the question.
I was gonna say a lot of what you guys already said. Like a lot of things come down to like what's the value add. So any player in your market. So if we're in Charlotte, right, and any player in this market is gonna have people constantly. Now, how many people hit you up a day about getting lunch?
I used to be one of them.
All the time, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot, right?
I don't know why I would turn that down.
So everybody's getting somebody saying, hey, can we go to lunch? Hey, can we do this? Hey, can we do that? What they're saying is find ways to provide people value, right? I got my start in this business literally by finding somebody that I was introduced to, and I would go to his office. I used to work overnight loading tractor trailer trucks. At 8:30 when I got off every single day, I went to this guy's office and I followed him around and did anything he asked me to do. If he had an issue with a tenant, I went and tried to go figure it out. If he had a contractor that he had an issue with, I went to go try to get it figured out. Whatever I could do to provide him value, right, I would do it for him. I never got paid one dime from this guy. He made a whole lot of money off my back. A whole lot. This guy's super rich. All right, so I did all these things for him, but here's what happened. A couple of years in, when I go to buy my first property, who do you think's my first private lender? He was, right? So I provided him value for years. Never asked him for $1. He didn't even give me lunch, right? So I just kept giving the guy value, right? And so when I found the first deal, I actually went to sell him the deal, all right? So I'm trying to sell this guy the deal because I'm wholesaling. So I'm trying to give him the deal, and he says, why don't you buy it? Tell the guy, look, I don't even have any money, right? I'm barely scraping by even trying to wholesale. So he says to me, hey, I'll fund the deal for you because nobody like me cares about anything other than can you make me money on my money or not? So he said, can you do that? And I said, yeah, I've already been doing that. I just haven't charged you yet, right? So what did he do? He said, I'll fund the deal for you. Let's flip it. We'll split it 50-50. That all came, just like these gentlemen said, from just providing value. All right, so figure out how you can give value to other people when you want to be in their space.
And that's so true. My mentee just left Rob the day he was up on the house today. My mentee the day he was here earlier, he was up on the house, calling up on the house today. We were doing putting some vapor barriers down. So it works, but he does get paid.
Yeah, I didn't read my first book till 26, which was Rich Dad Poor Dad. So when I bought that first house, we lost about $7 grand a piece. So that was my biggest mistake, and we did everything wrong. We basically wanted to flip the house, but we did all the steps wrong. So
Did you quit?
I did not quit. I was too stupid to quit at that time. I was in my 20s. I was young, and I needed that Bentley and 17 illegitimate children. Fast forward, I still don't have the Bentley, and I don't have the children. See how that goes up? It's crazy. So, but yeah, Corey, you got a question?
Yes, so it's been touched a little bit, Max, you touched on it, a few of you guys have, in scaling, finding the right employees. You talk about how you spend a lot of money on all the different sites. I'd love to hear the insight on how you found the best employees.
Some of my best employee right now, Shannon, she's my lead salesperson. I actually bought a house from her, and she wanted to work for me for 3 months, and I didn't want her in the inside of knowing what we did. And she's the best one I got. But I've spent a lot of money going to sales training and hiring and recruiting, spending money with gurus, probably $30,000 to figure out how to hire correctly. But the hiring process, I fine-tuned it on, I do group interviews now. I don't do one-on-one interviews. And we really hire for not their current skills, but are they a trainable individual that has a positive attitude. You can't bring in somebody that feels like they're already there. Yeah, so you have to find somebody that's coachable. So I think that's the best way. We do group interviews. We have, it's like a 30-minute pitch. Most people leave when I ask them, do they want to be a part of it? They get out. And I pay well. We have health benefits and everything. So we, when we select, we really hire for company culture and are they a trainable individual? And fire fast, very fast. And I don't care if they're making you the most money possible. It's one of the hardest things because I'm like a passionate person. Like I always see the good side even in the worst individual. And that person can bring down your entire team. Yeah. And I'm going through now. I'm putting a new office. It's 8,000 square feet. And we're going to put 75 individuals in that office.
Oh, wow.
So that's why I'm scaling so fast.
Philip, you have a question, Philip?
Yeah, I see you guys run scale businesses, have a team. In regards to your acquisitions, the lead volume, the volume in general, when do you feel this is a great time to add additional acquisition or sales rep?
Yeah, so when's the proper time to hire and scale?
Specifically acquisitions.
Acquisitions, you're gonna know. That's a common question. I asked that same question when I was thinking I was ready. You'll know. You'll know because if you're keeping up with your KPIs, you'll know how many deals you've missed by not having that extra person. And you can't handle the call volume or you can't go on enough appointments, it's gonna be a telltale sign. It's gonna be a flashing red light, hire more people now.
Or should I say, do you have like for them to manage a certain amount of leads? Like, hey, my target is to each rep manage a certain amount, or like?
No, don't try to look at it like that, because like it overcomplicates it. Like, I believe in trying to keep business simple, right? So like I don't try to put things into my space to like create more headaches, because you're gonna deal with enough of that, like, period. What I can tell you from dealing with a lot of hiring over the years and a lot of mistakes in hiring over the years is like have your scopes and processes like super tight for you ever think about hiring anybody. So like you should be able to hire someone when they come work for you, and you can sit them on a computer and you've got training directly in front of them, and they can get out of the seat and know exactly what you want them to do as far as sales are concerned. So like any question you got in your business, you should be able to ask it when they get up, and they can come back to you and say, yeah, you know what, Max, I do this. Yeah, Nas, you know what, I do this. If you're not at a space where that's set up yet, then you're not ready to hire somebody to do sales. The other side of that is you gotta be in a spot in your business, especially with wholesaling, where you know, hey, if I spend X amount of dollars on marketing, it's gonna produce at a minimum X amount of deals, right? So if I spend $5,000, I know it's gonna give me 2 deals out of spending $5,000. You gotta know your KPIs, and it's gonna tell you that. So you're gonna know, hey, all right, I spent $5,000 this month. At a bare minimum, I'm gonna get to at least 2 deals, right? And then you just start to turn that over, and then you can insert somebody into that seat. But don't jump the gun on trying to get somebody to do sales for you and that kind of deal. I agree with Max, like you're gonna feel it inside of your business, you're gonna know. But have systems and processes set up so you can really insert somebody in there and can be successful. Because oftentimes what happens, we'll go to hire somebody, right? And we don't give them the training information and things that they need. And we look at them and say, hey, you weren't successful, right? Like I gave you the job and you didn't do this, you didn't do that. It's really just us, right? Like we're running around, we're doing all these different things, speaking places and doing this and doing that. At the end of the day, you have to set people up for success. If somebody's coachable and trainable and you see that on that initial interview, put them in a pathway for success. But you can't do that if you don't give them the information they need to be successful.
All of my systems and processes are not documented online in a company because we use a software called Tranual and everything. So if you get hired for this position, you get a login for that position, you watch all the videos, and you leave there and you know exactly what you're supposed to do. Don't ask me.
And before you're thinking about hiring, like start setting that stuff up like right now, right? Like
make videos on how you do this.
Everything. How do you make your cold calls? How do you set up your mojo? Like how do you pull your list and list source? Like how you do everything. Like start setting that stuff up. Tranual, you said it's called?
Yeah, I use Tranual.
I've seen the ads, right? We use suite processes. There's a bunch of different sites. It's called like an SOP site. So you look at different websites where you can create SOPs. But start doing that early in your business before you ever think about hiring. I didn't do that and I regretted it because I had to go back and do it all, right, before I could be successful at trying to hire people. Scope of process, right? So you want to set those up, have those documented. You can do those inside those websites, and it can really help you out a ton.
Perfect. All right, guy in the LA, what's the question?
Basically, it's not really a question. It's more of a, trying to get an understanding of what's going on. I noticed that it's great that you guys are wholesaling, love it, but I also want to transition into the renovation aspect of it, as far as building as well. I'm a general contractor. I'm here in the state of North Carolina as well as South Carolina. So what are some techniques are you guys using to work with your contractors and whatnot as far as the building aspect or renovation? Are you guys currently looking for some opportunities or, okay, good. But what are you guys what techniques are you using to, hire those contractors that help you work on these projects so you can get out here at night or early in the morning and have your meetings and talk, and stuff like that moving on?
I'm gonna let he had a successful building business before the age of 30, so I'm gonna let him take that up.
All right, so I used to use a ABC system. All right, so I messed up when I first started, and
what's ABC, bro?
ABC is where you have multiple contractors and you fill in the gaps. Right. All right. So where I messed up was, you start flipping houses. Like I said, we started out by 2012. We were doing 20, 30 houses a year. So the mistake that I started to make was I would just give the same guy every job, right? And so then what happens is all your projects start to slow down. You're not getting stuff completed because the guy that we have to use as investors isn't the guy with the nice company shirt and the cool hat and the website. It's to do with the beat up truck with the ladder rack on the back. So he's only charging you X amount of dollars, right? So you're trying to save some money using somebody like that. So you got to set up an ABC system, right? So you got an A guy, and he gets your first opportunities. You got a B guy that gets those second opportunities. You got a C guy that get those third opportunities. You got to know their capacity, right? And so figure out like how many deals can they, or how many like projects can they actually do at a time, if that's a general contractor. The same applies though when it comes down to tradesmen, your carpenter, your drywall guy. We started to part out that process. So instead of like jumbling those kind of things together, so we split out like the hanger and the finisher, two different people, right? Like you got guys who are really good at hanging, they can hang a 2,500 square foot house in a day. That doesn't mean they can get it mudded up in 2 days, right? So you bring in another set of guys, you move that hanger to the next house, and now your finishers come in, they start finishing that house. Now your hanger's done at the next house, he's going on to house 3. Now your finisher's jumping over, he's working there, right? Right, and you gotta get those systems and processes together. Another really big thing is on your trades, try to find somebody that can do all 3. That's a hard find. You guys are in a much bigger city than me, so you probably have people here that can do it. If you can find somebody that can do your electrical, your plumbing, and HVAC, it will save you a drastic amount of time and communication breakdowns, right? And there's guys out here that are good at all 3, or they're good at 2, and they've got a buddy who does the 3rd, and you can piggyback them together. And you just set them up in those sets, and you just start to rotate them through.
Yeah, so my question, I feel like, the room and the conversation, we've navigated from a level of self-awareness, mindset, and some of the CEO mentalities as far as knowing, what strengths need to complement your weaknesses. What can you shed light on that, with wholesaling, there's a lot of different hats you gotta wear. And your skill set doesn't naturally align sometimes with some of the, things that need to be tackled. Can y'all give a rundown of, specific examples, challenges that you had to meet head on and kind of like where your mindset was and what, helped you get through to the execution point and getting it over the finish line?
Chris, you want to start with that, Chris?
I think for me, it was being organized, not knowing how to put things together at first. The mindset, just like again, I was born with a learning disability, so my dyslexia kicked in early. So you read something, I had to read it 5 times, but when I got it, I got it. But for me, was being organized and figuring how things all flow together and knowing the process. For on the whole side, walking in the house and knowing how when you tear it down, how to put it back. People can't see the finished product. I see the end and go back to the beginning. So for me, the one mindset for me is knowing how to look at the end and work backwards. Second is just getting around good people. Everything I've learned is never be in a room where you having to be the smartest person. I change my circles constantly, and I don't mind asking questions, but I don't mind being asked questions, but I want to ask questions too. Because at night I'm on a panel, but I am learning.
As an entrepreneur and like a CEO of a company, and you have people depend on you, almost no or failure is not an option, right? So there's a lot of things that you come across that you just don't know, right? But you can't take that answer. Like, I don't know this. It's not acceptable because people depend on what you're gonna pay them on Friday. So you have to have that attitude that you always are willing to find out at least enough to know to hire the right person to take that next step, right? Organization was one thing. I spend money on things to help me get organized. People, I hire more people. I have 14 employees and 2 of them just work on my schedule, right? Because it's something that I just need help on. So you have to learn things at least enough to hire the right individual. I learned that. I used to hire based on the resume and not knowing the topic enough. Like if you don't know anything about plumbing and a plumber walks in and tells you all this stuff, you don't know if he's good or not. Just talking lingo, you don't know. So you have to learn. So just that example, I had learned enough about piping and cast iron and stuff like that to where I knew where I wasn't getting played, or I knew to hire the right person. So I don't know, or no is not acceptable for an entrepreneur or CEO. So you always have to be willing to find an answer. And it's tough. It's hard. And just being self-aware, I think, is very important too. Knowing what you're not good at, and being willing to strengthen those things because you have to. Right? I wasn't good at hiring. I'm not good at organization. I had to learn to listen more to people that had problems, my employees, and then I constantly overtalk people. It's one thing I totally want. So being self-aware of what you are is very important as a person, but especially as an entrepreneur, because you're having to deal with so many different personality types, and you can't just cut it off, or you can't just, I don't want to deal with that person, right? Because you have to. You have to deal with that person, or you have to know the certain things. So I said just become very self-aware and never take I don't know or no as an answer from yourself. I think that's just some of the biggest things.
I'll say real quick on that, you're gonna have to do everything up front, right? And like even the stuff you really suck at, you gotta do it up front. Recognize it as quickly as possible. Like, all right, look, I'm not good at being organized. I don't know if Mark's here or not. I know he's supposed to show up. Mark helps me keep my life together, tells me exactly what I need to be doing, that kind of deal. He gave me a lecture on the way to Charlotte today about stuff that I wasn't doing that I was supposed to be doing, right? So you need to figure those things out. And once you know that about yourself, like go find that person. A big baseline for me when it comes like to hiring, people I do business with, anything, I don't like messing with nobody who ain't been through nothing. Like that's just a personal thing for me, right? Because it's like, this is a business, it's like a crazy roller coaster. And you're just bouncing up and down, up and down. You got a closing that's supposed to happen, attorney calls you the day before, you think you're making 20 grand, what does he tell you? Title problems ain't closing. You're like, wait a second, I don't know, I already spent 15, right? You know what I'm saying?
Question for you, Chris. As far as from the flipping side to the wholesaling, how you decide which way to go? Maybe y'all may have answered that already, but I missed it.
Yeah, so I did a lot of flips, a lot of new construction. I got out of that because, like I told you guys, we did like the crazy sexy houses that look really cool. And so one day I'm looking at comps on a property, and I look, and I'm seeing that I'm selling a property for $450. That's like crazy nice. But I see a house that's going for $400,000. It looks like, right? So I say to myself, well, damn, I could have just sold the house that I bought to fix up for $375, right? And so the next house we picked up, we said, you know what, we'll sell it for $375 as is. We'll clean it out, do a little bit of stuff to it. Boom, so it's just like that, right? So that shifted the mindset for me because as an investor, what you have to learn, it's not about what you like to do necessarily. It's about what do the numbers say? What does the data say, right? So at the end of the day, I knew my responsibility was to my lenders, right? And so I had to be committed to the ROI at the end of the day, right? So what's the rate of return on the project? Regardless if we can make it nice and fancy and put cool pictures on Facebook, that's cool, people pat you on the back for that. But what it really came down to is how quickly can we turn the money and what can we make on that money with velocity?
Wondering what would be your best advice in regard to getting into big time apartment buildings, 10, 50, 100 units? And also, second question, who would you recommend following that does those type of deals?
All right, I'm doing my first, we're doing our first apartment complex deal now, so we're doing our first, so I don't want to comment and act like I know, the process and everything out. Let us get beat up a few, take some punches, and then we can come back and report. I know recently Max has someone on his podcast who does apartment investing. Max is going to tackle this one. You know anything about that?
I'm working on one now, so I'm learning. I tell you, the numbers change, the whole game changes. So just get around people that are doing it and talking about it, because I'm learning myself right now.
So I was supposed to close my first 12 unit today and got pushed to Wednesday. So I have a 12 unit and a 20 unit we're buying after New Year because the investor doesn't want to have this on his tax for this year. So we're picking up 32 units in the next 60 days. And I went out and bought a course. I bought a course from Michael Blank. He's in Virginia?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I studied the shit out of it.
I bought the same course.
Yeah. So I mean, he gave me everything, and when I'm saying I got obsessed, I was obsessed. It took me a week to understand apartments fully.
Yeah.
And he gave me everything I needed. I think I spent like $800.
Yeah. I see you back there jumping up and down.
What KPIs should you track, and then how should those numbers look?
What KPI should you track, CJ, and how do those numbers look?
So that's a loaded question, right? Because that's going to be across like multiple parts of your business. All right, so like I believe you gotta isolate that down to specifics. So like when it comes to making offers, all right, how many offers did you make? Was the offer accepted? Was the offer declined? And is it in a pending situation? So if you've talked to sellers and been in that situation, we've all had the opportunity, or the situation where you go talk to a seller and the seller says to you, yeah, I gotta talk to my attorney, right? Or hey, I gotta talk to my sister or whoever, right? So like that's a pending offer when it comes to us, right? The other thing is you wanna track out your calls. The reason I like Mojo is the reporting system inside Mojo makes it extremely simple to track that information and see what that looks like. So if you got a VA like me that's making your phone calls, all right, so how long were they on the phone? What was their dead air time, right? How many contacts did they have? And how many properties actually got pushed over? So isolate that down. Everybody's KPI is gonna be different because what the outcomes that we want are all gonna be different. I may wanna make $100,000 a month. Max might wanna make $200,000 a month. I believe that, right? Me too, actually. So, right, so you gotta figure that part out inside your business and reverse engineer all your KPIs to fit that. But please break that down to different parts of your business, right? You don't want to know just like one part. You want to know, all right, your sales guy, he asked about a sales guy earlier. All right, so how many appointments are you going on a week? How many did you get under contract? Like you want to isolate those things down. That's how you truly start to track data.
So he's right, and this is the point where you start to scale, and this is where it becomes very easy. At this point, once you know your KPIs, and for people that know KPIs, it means key performance indicators. It's very easy. So like if your specialty is cold calling and you have somebody on a dialer, how many dials do you make? And then how many contacts do you have, right? And the ratio is probably gonna be the same. So let's just say if you make 1,000 calls a day and you reach 50 people, right? So out of those 50 people you talk to, how many people were interested in an offer, right? So now you know, okay, 2 people were interested. So I dialed 1,000, talked to 50, 2 wanted an offer. I sent out an offer. None of them accepted my offer. So now you have to figure out the KPI. So now it's like, okay, for the offer, you say, okay, how many appointments do I go on? Out of how many appointments, how many offers do I make out of those appointments? Out of how many offers I make, how many are accepted? Out of every accepted deal, how much money is made from each deal? So when you start breaking that down, you start to see, then you can start saying, all right, I need 5 salespeople because I need to make 5,000 calls a day because I want to reach 250 people a day because I know I'm going to send out, I'm going to go out on 8 appointments, and out of those 8 appointments, I'm going to get 2 contracts. And out of those 2 contracts, I'm going to make $36,000. And now you say, okay, I have that in my business, now I just need to turn up and spend more money.
Right, and so instead of saying cold calling doesn't work anymore, now you're tracking that information, you know, all right, I just gotta increase my volume of calls because if we make, for every 300 calls we make, we get 3 contacts, right? So once you know that, now you know when that starts to drop, you just gotta kick that up and keep tracking it, and your business starts to get predictable.
And then you know where you need to improve, right? So if you say, okay, out of those 8 appointments we made, my sales guy was only able to get 1 contract. So then you start to think back and you need to analyze why. And then you say, my sales guy sucks. Fire him. You put in a new sales guy, out of 8 appointments, he's getting 3 contracts, right? So now you know where the leakage is in your business. If you don't track your numbers, I spend hundreds and thousands of dollars to go to smarter people to tell me this shit. And I'm telling you, if you don't know your numbers, you don't know how to scale. Right? So like when I walk into a business, right? I have another business that does like $6 million a year. I said, how do I increase the numbers? How do I get more money? He says, do you know your numbers? He says, that's the only way you're going to increase your number. You need to know your numbers. So if you don't know your numbers, you can never scale in this business. You need to know every dollar where it spends. Like for example, that's why we use tracking numbers. I bought 4 billboards in the city and ran a campaign for 3 months. It cost me $21,000. You know how much money I made? $0. Guess what I did not do the next month? More billboards. Exactly. So now I knew because I had a tracking number and I got 0 calls, literally 0 calls. I had a misdial. I had a misdial.
You don't track that.
But if you don't track, you don't know. You're just out there aimlessly spending. So I hope that helps you. So KPIs are important. Start tracking them from now, and just learn the basics of sales, and then then go to the meetups and learn how you need to apply it to where you need to learn. Like you have to become obsessed. If you want to become a better salesperson, then I better not see you play any music, watch any football. You need to be having on a hat that says sales. You need to be obsessed with that, because that's the only way you're gonna get good. Like if you want a great body, right? You gotta go to the gym, right? It's the same thing with the mind. Go to the gym. Go to the gym. Put the reps in.
A good book is Never Split the Difference.
Never, by Chris Voss.
Yeah, that was a really good book for me. Never Split the Difference, so definitely check it out.
Is there any advice on wholesaling commercial properties?
Wholesaling commercial properties.
Commercial as in like buildings or apartments?
You touch apartments a little bit, so I guess like older houses, garages, you see a lot of those still down there too.
Well, like you said, okay. So I've done one commercial deal, right? I've done one commercial deal, and of me being in full time 7 years, and I done one commercial deal. That one commercial deal, we made about $250,000 on that deal. You know, so we made $250,000. Can you wholesale it? Is your question? Yes, you can wholesale it. That's how we made the money. But the deal was so good, we had closed on it, and we just resold it, and we made $240 at close, and we walked away about a gross of $246.
Yeah, I've never done a commercial deal ever. Everybody needs a house, not everybody needs a warehouse, right? So you gotta gauge. You want to play where everybody's playing at, not where a few people are.
Yeah.
You can make money, absolutely. You can specialize in it, but I want to go where the volumes of people are.
All right. So, all right, guys, I got some questions for y'all. Who's the youngest in this group? Yeah. How old are you? Stand up.
I'm 9 years old.
9 years old. All right. Hey, thank you for coming, bro. All right, thank you for coming. All right, who traveled from Virginia? Somebody came from Virginia besides CJ?
Who was the furthest?
Who was the furthest? Who was the furthest? Where you from?
Charleston.
Charleston? Hey. Yo. You from Charleston too? Yeah. You drove from Charleston? Yeah. Hey, take this book, bro. He's from Charleston. Hey, bro, I appreciate you coming, bro. I appreciate you coming, seriously, bro. All right, so.
Hey, let's get a question, bro. He came from Charleston.
Hey, you got a question, bro? Please, please.
I got my first 2 deals real easy. I put out signs, got calls the next day, and I sold the properties. How do I get sellers now? Because I'm calling 1,000 people a day, but the bandit signs, the first 2 times worked. I mean, I just started 2 months ago and did 2 deals.
Hey, clap.
The same amount of bandit signs?
I only put out 25 the first time I got the first call, and I put out 25 the next time I got the next.
How much are you putting out now?
I've already bought like 500.
Hey, hold on. DeAndre, you gotta hit Charleston.
I would keep at what you're doing, man. You lucked up, and this is the same thing. I got my first 2 deals like within a month and a half, right? And it doesn't come that easy. Now you're spoiled. Now you're thinking that's normal. It's okay, right? So just keep doing what you're doing. Be persistent, and make sure you answer those phone calls, right? Don't let them go to voicemail. You're putting out more bandit signs. Be strategic in where you're putting them out now too, right? Are you finding the hottest zip codes?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know the hottest zip codes. You know the hottest neighborhoods. Place them outside of there, right? And if you need to hire somebody to put out more bandit signs, do that. But don't stop that source. It worked for you fast. Now it's just it might take a little bit longer. And then once you solidify that, you have a system and process on putting out bandit signs, then you switch to something else.
Let me say this real quick too. Please, please, please make sure you reinvest in your market. I talk to people all the time when they do their first deal, they do their second deal, and I say, well, all right, how's your marketing changed? Well, I spent $500 to get my first deal, I'm still spending $500. That doesn't work, all right? You gotta run it like a business. When I started out, I said I didn't want to be a corner store, I wanted to be Walmart. right? Like that was the thought process I had when I started. So to get there, to get that big, I gotta keep churning out money and increasing in my marketing over time. So don't get stagnant. Don't spend money on marketing and get a deal and not reinvest some of that. Like structure up how you wanna split your money up, right? Like how much you wanna put in your pocket. I believe in paying yourself, right? So make sure you know what you wanna put in your pocket, pay your taxes, how much more do I wanna kick out of my marketing, and then change that as you do more deals. Don't stick on that number, because now you're gonna get into a space where you're thinking, all right, I'm not making this happen, this isn't working the right way. A lot of this just comes down to when you dial in the systems and the processes, and you got it tight, you just gotta spend money.
Okay, and let me say this one more thing. What's your name? Henry? Alright, yeah, so you from Charleston, the guy back there, he's from Charleston. First, I want to thank y'all for actually driving this far and coming, and I hope we add enough value to make the trip worth it. But for those who don't know, Charleston was one of the biggest slave ports in this country, okay? So there was the boat would come from Africa to Charleston, right? Now, so it was a large black city. Fast forward, they're getting hit by gentrification because they're on the water. Getting killed by gentrification. Yeah, so I read articles about public housing projects that were sitting on the water being sold to private developers, and now they have these big, beautiful houses, and guess who gets pushed out? All right? So for you two guys who are in markets like Charleston, make sure y'all hold, man. You hear what Chris said? Chris literally has control over a whole neighborhood that can easily be $1 million plus neighborhood because of the views and the distance from downtown. So don't be afraid to hold properties. If you can get stuff, near those water lines. Hold, man. That's the long-term goal.
And you ain't got the money, borrow. Somebody asked what the biggest mistake was. That was my biggest mistake. I made a shit ton of money really quickly when I first started out. I didn't buy enough rentals, right? So what happened is the people I started with, for the first few years, I made more money than all of them, right? I'm looking at them like, man, you ain't making no money for real, right? 5 years starts to flip by. Now that guy's got 100 rentals. I got 5. Now I'm starting to think to myself, well, shit, he's making cash, so he don't have to do anything. I talked to a buddy the other day, right? Now I've got good rentals now, but I talked to a buddy the other day and he said, man, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. So what do you mean? He said, man, I make $42,000 a month. I said, well, shit, man, what the hell are you doing? Right? That's the whole point, right? So that's my biggest mistake. I encourage everybody here, he's talking about wealth and building wealth and picking stuff up, being in the path of progress. Pick up rental property for sure.
All right. I want to add to that. I want to add to that. Retirement is when your residual income exceeds your debt.
Right.
And when you can live off your residual income, what you do then is duplicate that. There's a message in that.
Yeah, make sure you talk to Chris after the Hey, stand up, ask a question.
Yeah, I have a comment.
Okay, ask a comment, go ahead.
So, I'm from Charleston as well. One of my friends, his grandma, she passed away. Houses in the family, right? So, little small house, maybe, let's say 2 bedrooms, not even 1,000 square feet, right? Downtown Charleston. So what he was trying to do was knock the house down and build right back up because you got an $800,000 house, basically all these houses around $500,000, right? The city would not let them knock the house down because they said that it was quote unquote historical property, right? But what he wanted to do was knock it down so he can build it right back up, and this house would be worth $800,000. You know what I'm saying? So it's a game that people play with us, but we gotta kind of know, you know what I'm saying, what we can do and what we can't do because they always gonna try to throw something at you. You know what I'm saying? We just try to play in the same box you playing in, but some people try to keep us out. So, know what you're supposed to know, what you're supposed to do in these kind of meetings up here.
All right, thank you for coming, taking the comment. So now we about to just take some pictures and look important.
Thank you, Ken. You got